Mihaly Munkacsy's 1872 painting, The Last Day of a Condemned Man, is a profound exploration of human despair, isolation, and the inevitable approach of death. This painting, one of Munkacsy's most celebrated works, captures the intense psychological turmoil of a man awaiting execution, delving deeply into themes of mortality and the human condition. The painting's central figure, the condemned man, is depicted sitting alone at a small, simple table covered with a white cloth. His posture is slumped, his head bowed, and his entire demeanor suggests deep resignation and sorrow. He holds a cloth in one hand, perhaps a handkerchief or piece of clothing, while the other hand rests heavily on the table, further emphasizing his exhaustion and despair. The man's face is partially obscured by shadow, which adds a layer of mystery and forces the viewer to imagine the emotions etched into his expression: fear, regret, or perhaps a numb acceptance of his fate. Munkacsy's use of light and shadow is critical to the painting's emotional impact. The room is dimly lit, with the only source of light coming from two small candles on the table. This faint, flickering light illuminates the man's figure and the tablecloth, casting deep shadows that envelop the rest of the room. The contrast between the bright white of the cloth and the surrounding darkness highlights the man's isolation and the stark reality of his situation. The candles, symbolizing the fragile and fleeting nature of life, cast a pale glow that only intensifies the sense of impending doom. The setting is minimalistic, yet it contributes significantly to the painting's atmosphere. The walls are rough and bare, their texture adding to the sense of a cold, unfeeling environment. The floor is similarly stark, with a few scattered objects that hint at the man's meager existence in this prison cell. The simplicity of the setting directs all attention to the man and his inner turmoil, emphasizing his loneliness and the gravity of his situation. In the background, partially hidden in the shadows, stands a guard, a silent looming figure who watches over the condemned man. The guard's presence adds to the sense of isolation, as he is a distant, almost ghostly figure, emphasizing the man's solitude even further. The guard's detachment contrasts sharply with the condemned man's visible despair, underscoring the impersonal nature of the justice system that has brought him to this point. The guard's role is not one of comfort or empathy, but merely to ensure that the execution is carried out, highlighting the cold, bureaucratic machinery of capital punishment. Munkacsy's composition is carefully designed to evoke a strong emotional response. The positioning of the man at the table, with his head bowed and body slumped, creates a downward movement that symbolizes his descent into despair and the inevitability of his fate. The stark contrast between light and shadow, the rough texture of the walls and floor, and the sparse setting all contribute to a feeling of claustrophobia and entrapment, mirroring the emotional state of the condemned man. The painting also reflects the broader social and political context of the 19th century, particularly the debates surrounding the death penalty. During this time, there was growing concern about the morality and effectiveness of capital punishment, and Munkacsy's painting can be seen as a commentary on these issues. By focusing on the emotional and psychological experience of the condemned man, Munkacsy invites viewers to consider the human cost of the death penalty and to question the justice of a system that deals in life and death. The Last Day of a Condemned Man is more than just a depiction of a man facing execution. It is a meditation on the nature of justice, mortality, and the human condition. Munkacsy's skillful use of light and shadow, composition, and setting creates a powerful, immersive experience that draws the viewer into the condemned man's world, allowing them to feel his despair and isolation. The painting's emotional depth and complexity make it a timeless work that continues to resonate with audiences today. Munkacsy's focus on the psychological impact of facing death is particularly poignant The condemned man's posture and expression suggest that he is lost in thought, perhaps reflecting on his life, his crime, or the fate that awaits him. The viewer is left to imagine what thoughts are running through his mind in these final hours, whether he is filled with regret, fear, or a sense of injustice. This ambiguity adds to the painting's power, as it invites viewers to project their own emotions and thoughts onto the scene, making it a deeply personal experience. The painting's minimalist setting further enhances the focus on the condemned man's inner world. The bare walls and floor, the simple table and candles, and the shadowy figure of the guard all serve to strip away any distractions, forcing the viewer to confront the stark reality of the man's situation. The lack of windows or any indication of the outside world reinforces the sense of isolation and entrapment, suggesting that the man is already cut off from life, awaiting only the final blow that will end it. The Last Day of a Condemned Man also serves as a critique of the justice system and the use of capital punishment. By humanizing the condemned man and focusing on his emotional and psychological experience, Munkacsy challenges the viewer to consider the morality of a system that takes human life. The painting does not glorify or justify the man's crime. Instead, it presents him as a human being, capable of deep thought and emotion, deserving of empathy and understanding regardless of his actions. This portrayal encourages viewers to think critically about the death penalty and the broader implications of a system that dehumanizes those it condemns. Munkacsy's painting is also a reflection of his own views on life, death, and justice. Known for his deep empathy and social consciousness, Munkacsy often focused on the plight of the poor and marginalized in his work. The Last Day of a Condemned Man is a continuation of this theme, highlighting the suffering and injustice faced by those on the margins of society. Through this painting, Munkacsy gives a voice to the condemned, challenging the viewer to see them not as criminals or outcasts, but as human beings with their own thoughts, emotions, and stories. The Last Day of a Condemned Man is a powerful and moving work of art that delves deeply into the themes of mortality, justice, and the human condition. Munkacsy's use of light and shadow, composition, and setting creates a deeply immersive experience that draws the viewer into the condemned man's world, allowing them to feel his despair and isolation. The painting's emotional depth, psychological complexity, and social commentary make it a timeless work that continues to resonate with audiences today. Through this painting, Munkacsy invites us to reflect on the nature of justice, the morality of the death penalty, and the value of human life, challenging us to see the condemned not as criminals, but as human beings deserving of empathy and understanding.
Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and share the videos. Hit the bell icon to get notified about new content.